So Saturday I finished Slaughterhouse Five. I'm glad I read it, but I'm not sure if it's one I would generally recommend to most people because of his unique voice. For context, Kurt Vonnegut did actually fight in World War II towards the end. He was taken to Dresden, where America and Britain just firebombed it day and night. He survived by hiding in a meat locker and helped clean up after it's done. All of that did happen, which is kind of discussed in the book, but with an added story flair. But also in the book, it's jumping back and forth to different points in the author's or narrator's life. It's kind of hard to tell where he ends and the narrator begins, because it is so interpersonally woven, but also, in kind of the way where it's hard to tell where he ends and the narrator begins. Like in the beginning, there's kind of like a prologue, which is kind of an explanation for this book, or an apology for this book. I'm not sure. But he talks about the making of the book and how he says without saying that he can't sleep well, that he drinks frequently, but just he explains it in moments instead of just like, yeah, I have this issue. And so you almost don't catch it. And how people want him to write about his time as being a prisoner of war, and he understandably doesn't want to think about it, doesn't want to write about it, and has blocked a lot of it out. Which, why wouldn't you? That's a traumatic event. So yeah. If this sounds like a book you would want to read, you should. Otherwise, it's understandable if you don't. It's a hard time in history, and it's a little disjointed reading. But it's also worth the read if you want it. But there were some tidbits where you're like, oh, yeah. And it makes you stop reading for a moment and kind of like stop and think about it for a second. But otherwise, the book is very random. And I don't know if it's just the bouncing in time, or if it's the aliens. There's aliens. So I'm not sure. Like, it's random, but it's not random. I don't know. But that's what makes it hard to recommend it to people, because it's not a continuous flow in the story, but there is. To note, one of the prisoners of war, for some reason decides to talk about the time they killed a dog in detail. I think I end up skipping over the rest of that paragraph, but this was the end of World War II, so pets weren't generally family at that point. Especially to the point that they are now. But that behavior has connotations attached to it for the type of person that they are or could be. So while the rest of us would be like, horrified, not so much then, I'm sure. But yeah, I am glad I read it. And so I think that's all I have. All right. I will talk to you next time.